What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Good Game Reviews. Here to do another game review. This is for the Wildcard weekend matchup between the Tennessee Titans versus the New England Patriots. Final score of the game: 20-13. Not New England, but Tennessee Titans. Let's see. Hold on. Still trying to pull stuff up. All right. Let's get into the good, is what I like to do. As far as the good goes, the only good that I really saw come from this game would be the little bit of running that we were able to see. Excuse me, about to burp. From Sony Michel. Oh, shoot, I burped. Yeah, from Sony Michel. He had 14 attempts, 61 yards, had a long of 25. That was earlier on in the game. And we also saw some decent running from Julian Edelman. He got like two runs for 12 yards. As far as the receiving goes, James White was the leading receiver for this game. He had 5 receptions, 62 yards, had a long of 29. Ben Watson also had some yardage gained on that. He had 3 receptions, 38 yards, had a long of 21. He could have had a longer one, but that one was wiped out due to a penalty. And I think that changed the scope of the game drastically in that sense. Julian Edelman was held to 30, but he was able to do that on 3 receptions. As far as defense goes, the defense themselves, they managed to keep them down to 14 points, and that's that's asking a lot, especially with how much of a role the Tennessee Titans were on coming into the playoffs. They were used to scoring like 20-something points, 30-something points. So to hold them to 14, for the defense to hold them to 14, that's pretty good on their part. As far as the bad goes, though, Brady also had the pick 6 at the end of the game, which was not ideal. If there was any chance of any kind of weird comeback in that scenario, that does not help at all. Now it was due to it bouncing off of Sanu's hands, and that happened earlier in the game where it bounced off of I believe it was Watson's hands, and it almost got picked off the first time by Logan Ryan, but this time it got picked off by Logan Ryan. He was able to take this to the house. So just not really sure hands on their part. As far as the receiving options goes, like I said earlier, James White was the leading receiver in this game. He is a running back. And then after that is Watson and Burkhead. You don't get to a wide receiver until Julian Edelman. And you got N'Keal Harry and Sanu. If that's how that's going to look, then of course you're gonna lose. As far as, and I usually don't do this, but I kind of want to look over at the Titans side of the game. As far as what the Patriots defense did well, they pretty much eliminated the Titans as far as their receiving options. Now, one guy was able to get a touchdown. That was Fisker, the tight end. But overall, he had 2 receptions for 23 yards. Anybody else pretty much had like 1 reception, and that was like pretty much everybody. I think it says Pruitt had 2, but we were like, one of the concerns that I had was possibly AJ Brown, seeing what Park was able to do against Gilmore in that Week 17 loss, but obviously that was a fluke because for most of the game, Gilmore was pretty much on Brown, and Brown was pretty much shut down in this game. He only had 1 reception for 4 yards. He did not get off as far as like that being their best receiver. He did not get off like people might have thought he would have. So really, all of this came down to the running game. And that was one of the weaknesses that we saw throughout the regular season, as far as the Patriots are concerned, because they had trouble stopping the run game against teams like the Bills at one point. Ugh. All that mucus. Ugh. Sorry, I was eating some chicken and fries from Blue City Cafe, extra barbecue sauce. You had teams like the Ravens who were running the ball on the Patriots. You had teams like the Browns who were running the ball on the Patriots. So this became kind of like a theme as, okay, if we have any sort of a running game, we're going to be able to have, a decent day against the New England Patriots because they just can't stop our run. And I feel like that's probably going to be a point of focus that they're going to look at is securing that D lineup because they couldn't. I mean, they can't stop the run for anything. Like if there was any weakness in this defense, it would have to be at the D line position because, I mean, they just allow teams to just run the ball on them, and it's ridiculous. As far as what Henry was able to do on the ground, he had 34 attempts, so they made it very necessary to get the ball into his hands. Like it didn't matter what the down was. It was a second and short or a second and long or third and 9 or whatever. Like they didn't care. They made it their duty to get the ball in Henry's hands. He had 34 carries and 182 yards. He also had a touchdown in this game. He got a rushing touchdown in this game. He leapt over the goal line. It was at the 1 yard line. He was able to leap over and get the touchdown on there. He had a long of 29, but he just had long runs just overall. He was just getting out and the Patriots, they were able to clean it up later on in the game, but by that time it was pretty much too late because they had figured it out, but they had figured it out too late. And that was pretty much their mission. Like, we're not going to deviate from this. We're going to run the ball as much as we can. And if we can just keep them off the field and just waste time, then that would secure a win for us. Now, you did get the pick from Harmon off of Tannehill, but the Patriots weren't able to do anything with that. And that's another thing. The lack of offense that has just plagued this team throughout the season. Just their lack to be able to put points up on the board. And I'm pretty sure like that Antonio Brown situation is looking a little bit better. I kind of think like they're thinking maybe we should have picked them back up, or maybe we should have never released them in the first place. Because I mean that's looking pretty iffy. I mean, you look at the beginning of the season, and they had Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon, and Demaryius Thomas at the same time. Now, Josh Gordon, I mean, he pretty much, kind of muffed himself up, getting suspended once again. So that was only a matter of time. Demaryius Thomas, he was pretty decent with the Jets. He didn't really have like any spectacular numbers, but he was doing like decent with the Jets. So you had him in your arsenal, and then you had Antonio Brown. You think about the caliber of receivers that they had at one time, and just see it just dwindle down, just out of nowhere. Yeah, I mean it's really crazy. So of course that played a part in it, not having guys who were able to get separation, and that was just another factor in this loss. Guys couldn't get separated. Tom Brady had two amazing throws in that game. One to Watson early on in the game. I think it was on the first drive, and he had to convert the third down. And he just found a way to put it in Watson's hands, and Watson made a good catch on there. And again to Julian Edelman. Uh, I believe that one was also a third down, and he found a way to just squeeze it in there. But that was the thing; he was trying to squeeze it in there too often, and the reason why is because people just weren't getting separation. People weren't getting separation, and then when the ball would get into some of these players' hands, they would just drop it, or it would get batted down, or it would almost get picked. It would almost get picked because they couldn't, corral the ball, or it did get picked, like at the end of the game, and that resulted in a pick six. So the receiver problem was pretty much the biggest thing walking into this. No tight ends, no wide receivers who can get separation. He threw it majorly to the running backs this whole game. Um, just really couldn't get anything done. He was 20 for 37. Only 209 yards, had and one interception, no touchdown. So just not good numbers. Now Ryan Tannehill wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, he was 8 for 15, yes, but still, like, he only threw the ball 15 times and he only got 72 yards. I mean, you tell me you win the game as a quarterback only throwing 72 yards. I'm thinking we're probably back in the 80s or something, but no, I mean, he found a way to win the game, and he was able to get that touchdown early on, and I think that's really what put them in a hole. And the Patriots had chances where they were in the red zone, but just couldn't capitalize, and that's just another thing where we pretty much had to see where they would get into the red zone, and because there are insufficiencies in the red zone, it would make it harder for the team overall, and it'll put more pressure on the defense to just keep on going out there and balling out and keeping the other team off the field and having to make plays and having to get turnovers and having to make these third down stops and all of this. So once again, the lack of offense really killed this team's chances. And also, once again, the running game was able to expose a big weakness that the Patriots defense has. Because if you're talking about passing, if you're talking about being able to stop the pass, the Patriots have that down pat. I mean, we saw that for ourselves tonight. Only keeping a guy like AJ Brown to 4 receiving yards and 1 reception. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better performance from Gilmore. I mean, unless you're talking about his performance against Amari Cooper in the Cowboys game where he kept them to 0, just 0 overall. But 1 reception, 4 yards. I mean, that being their best receiver, that is a pretty good performance. But the defensive line pretty much let this team down. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, the defensive line pretty much let this team down. And because of that, we're sitting here, looking at the end of the game. Henry, 182 yards. So, I mean, that's just the way it went down. Now, for all the Patriots fans out there, you're just gonna have to bite it on this one. You're gonna hear a lot of noise tomorrow. You're gonna have to wake up. You're gonna have to deal with that bitter feeling of the Patriots, taking a loss in the playoffs. I would suggest just don't look at any articles or anything about it. Don't look at any undisputed or first things first videos, because you already know what they're going to be. It's just going to be a bunch of Patriot haters and Brady haters patting themselves on the back and throwing fiestas because the Patriots are no longer in the playoffs. So if you just want to avoid that, just don't look at any of those videos. Don't look at any of those ESPN videos or NFL Network videos or shows or anything like that. Just don't look at that. But as far as people at your job and everywhere else, you pretty much gonna have to deal with that. I mean, that's just something you're gonna have to deal with. And we dealt with it before. We dealt with it after Super Bowl losses. We dealt with it after playoff losses. Yeah, it's just something that goes with the territory, and it will come. The time will come, and the time will pass. But based on the success of this team, we don't really have anything to feel too bad about. I mean, they just came from winning the Super Bowl the very last year, And the year before that, they had lost the Super Bowl. But the year before that, they had won the Super Bowl. So it's just one of those things that you got to deal with. This is a team that's never counted. This, you can never count them out. And it's a possibility they can get everything together next year and make another playoff run and perhaps even make another Super Bowl run. So, I mean, just take it like that. If I just want to if there's any Patriots fans out there who need some comforting, just look at it like that. You know, uh, as far as the Titans go, congratulations to the Titans. They had the perfect game plan. They knew exactly where to attack the weaknesses. Um, and it looks like they will be going on, since they were the 6th seed, they will be going on to face the Baltimore Ravens, and the Texans will go on to face the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, in my opinion, I don't think the Texans nor the Titans have a chance in any of those matchups. So it's pretty much like if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan or a Baltimore Ravens fan, this was pretty much the best scenario, because these are two teams, and they're going into some matchups where it just does not look well for them. Um, but yeah, as far as the Titans, congratulations, you won the game. You did it all fair and square, and you had the perfect game plan. So tip our hats off to you. Um, but also one more thing. One area that I was looking at as far as the game went was the special teams performance, and it was not as it wasn't really as good as I would have hoped it to be, because I would have expected a lot more of a contribution from the special teams than anything. I would have expected them to try to punt it or kick it off to these returners who were pretty much subs. You could have kicked it off to them and made them work for it, and possibly got a turnover on that way. But too much of it kicking into the end zone, too much of Jake Bailey punting it into the end zone, not downing it in good field position. At one point, he had only kicked it to the 40-something yard line, and it was not Jake Bailey's day. It was possibly one of his worst performances that I've seen. Very disappointed from his play. Um, I mean, just not a good performance overall. The only really bright spot of this team was the secondary. Um, and they can only do so much. They can only do so much. The secondary can only carry this team so much, and the defensive line just did not help out as far as the running game goes. The offensive weapons did not get open. They didn't help Tom Brady out, and special teams didn't make any contributions whatsoever to this game. So, I mean, those are just the breaks. Had opportunities with good field position, whether it was from turnovers or whether they just got a good spot, as far as the ball goes. But it's like, I mean, they just didn't capitalize on a lot of positions that they had. So, I mean, possessions that they had. So that's pretty much just what happened in that game. But enough of that. Enough of rambling on about that. I'll possibly have a video talking about draft prospects later on in the off season. Videos like that, free agency things, maybe. So be on the lookout for that. I'll probably do some other reaction things to whatever the NFL drops. So be on the lookout for that. But like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, I'm out.